Whoa. Whoa. Whoa, hold up a second. I haven't played any of the Kirby games and I'm already tearing up. After learning about the Kirby lore from RPG Monger's video, you guys suggested that I check out this one as a bit of a follow-up. It's by the channel called Designing For, and it looks to be more of a video game essay type thing, where we'll be looking into how the Kirby lore avoids being too deep, which is something that I never really thought about before, or know of a series that has too much lore. I guess maybe Warhammer 40k, but like, I've never seen too much lore as a bad thing. So I'm really interested to see what kind of arguments we're going to be bringing up in this video. But of course, this is a reaction video. So please, before watching, make sure to go and support the OG video by clicking the link that's always at the top of the description. As per usual, I'll be pausing quite a lot and commentating on certain things, so it's not going to be the best way to watch the video. If you want to see it in its entirety, go and watch the OG one. But with all that out of the way, let's get right into it. This is a cute animation.
Kirby's kind of the best, isn't he? Adorable and cool, simple but fascinating, utterly broken for his genre, yet a joy to play.
Like, as an outsider, these aren't really things that you would realize until you learn a bit more about what exactly goes on in Kirby's universe. Kirby has such an unassuming form, and yet is like the most badass person in the entire galaxy. Literal eldritch beings cower in fear when Kirby shows up.
There's hardly anything to hate about the little guy. As such, despite my absolute love for the Kirby series, it makes talking about him beyond what he offers at an introductory level really difficult. Kirby's good, you know he's good, it's obvious what makes him good. Go play Planet Robobot. It's like the best Power Fantasy game. It doesn't deserve to be locked in 3DS jail with Kid Icarus and SMT4.
No.
Set them free, please.
No, Shin Megami Tensei 4! Gosh darn it. I love the SMT series. We're currently streaming the Persona series here on the channel, as well as doing SMT5 Vengeance, but it's been a long time since I've streamed that. Gotta get back to it once I get my schedule in check. But yeah, maybe someday we'll check out SMT4. I've heard it's good.
New Kirby games tend to just showcase different gimmicks and unique ways to play with Kirby, rather than creating some kind of deeper innovation. Kirby's like a childhood friend. When you go over to his house, you already know your favorite game and that you're gonna play it together. And sometimes he'll throw in a brand new toy to add to the fun. Outside of the Dark Matter games being more focused on environmental puzzles, and those following Superstar's design focusing more on beat-em-up action than the platforming elements, Kirby's mainline series is just a cozy escape into pure playfulness every single time. And that's great. Kirby doesn't have to be anything more than a friend.
I only saw gameplay footage from RPG Monger's video, as I had never played any of the Kirby games before. And I will say that, for the most part, it does look like such a cozy time. The story, the characters, and the art style, it all gives this distinctive feeling. One that I haven't seen really in any other game. And I think that's very important, for your game to have its own style that's instantly recognizable. But potentially even more so than that, it's the emotions that your game evokes within the player that is probably the most memorable part about them. So for a lot of you guys who have been fans of the series for a long time, whenever you see Kirby, it probably evokes a massive feeling of nostalgia about those times where you had just so much fun playing the game.
There is one aspect of Kirby that has evolved in recent years. Its lore. Perhaps more than any other Nintendo franchise, save for Smash, Kirby adores celebrating its history, bringing back past bosses and friends, giving them new forms or attacks to show off all the cool stuff that can be imagined with the passing of time. On top of that, it's no secret that Kirby games start nice and cheery, but end with a confrontation with a nightmarish, extra-dimensional being of reality-shattering power. For a while, a final boss at the end was all they were. As cool as the Nightmare Wizard and Marks and Zero 2 are, they're ultimately just terrifying foils to the pink puffball. You'd get a hint of a post-apocalypse Earth here or a demonic possession there, but these guys are just in the way to show how good Kirby is. That no matter how tough and scary it gets, a smile, optimism, and boundless potential can see it through. They're a nifty talking point when discussing the series, and I will love Marks forever. but not something to really take with you outside of the assuredly amazing final boss theme. That is, until Shinya Kumazaki became director of the Kirby series. Starting with Kirby Superstar Ultra.
Actually, what was that image from? After searching up Shinya's previous work, all I can find is his work on Kirby games, so I guess this man is dedicated. But I think I'm starting to see where we're trying to take this video. Because yeah, there is this deep lore to Kirby if you wish to explore it, but it ultimately doesn't take away from the message that Kirby is trying to send. And I think it's cool to see these narrative parallels, even between like different series and vastly different genres, that originate from the same core concept of what they want to evoke within the player, whether that be a thought or an emotion, being told in a very different way. It all really depends on the director's vision for that series.
A great deal more focus was given to the overall continuity of the Kirby series. Marx would revive his dark soul, reanimating his defeated body for one final showdown. The most loyal Waddle Dee in King Dedede's army was given a bandana to distinguish him that would carry on through future installments. Meta Knight would go on his own journey and use the power of Nova to wish to fight the strongest warrior in the universe. All of these great but simple additions to Superstar's plot that gave it just a bit more character. But it was Kumazaki's first original Kirby game, Return to Dreamland, where the series would gain a significantly more grandiose presentation.
Wait, wasn't it Return to Dreamland where we really started talking about the ancient civilization? And then that tied into the Forgotten Land where we had mixed that in with the civilization that you discovered there, having transported through different dimension into Kirby's dimension, and thus creating the whole story.
The days of Kirby getting a cake stolen leading to oops, accidentally released the ancient evil eyeball man were gone. Now, Magalore alludes to the ancients of the universe as he tricks Kirby into slaying a space hydra to gain ultimate power. King Dedede is considered the strongest warrior of his planet and is kidnapped to prevent his resistance against alien invaders who wish to drain Popstar dry.
What the heck?
An evil galactic corporation.
I guess I never got that detail from the other video. King Dedede is the most powerful warrior? Really? Even on the same planet as Kirby's currently residing on? Is that why the evil spirits always choose to possess him?
Wants to mechanize all of the planet to increase its corporate influence because its CEO has been driven mad with greed and power. Yo, Star Allies, is that a death cult? Cool. Needless to say, the lore of Kirby became a much deeper part of its overall narrative. Later bosses weren't just obstacles, they were intrinsic parts of Kirby's universe. Star Allies featured brainwashed friends with new super forms as area bosses, before moving on to the mysterious Mage Sisters, who all get their personalities and religious devotion to the Jamba Heart well established before their fights. Planet Robobot takes this a step further, taking Kirby's enemies and twisting them into mutated and assimilated versions of themselves, while the higher-ups of Haltman Enterprises analyze the weird pink ball in their own way. The plot wasn't just an excuse to move Kirby from Ice Cream Island to Butter Building, or to make King Dedede body horror again. Kirby had a story. Characters had arcs, and those arcs didn't always have the happiest endings.
Taranza needs a hug. Taranza needs justice. My boy needs help. He has been suffering this entire time, and I think the last time we heard anything about him, he wanted to obtain the power to set things right and bring back his crush. It's pretty clear that he's not been able to move on from that. So yeah, it's really dark if you read between the lines. I mean, Taranza's story isn't even the darkest stuff that we have in the Kirby lore.
And what added to that, perhaps more than anything else, was the pause screen. No, really. This might sound a bit ridiculous at first pass, but a majority of Kirby's deeper mythology is tucked away in the pause menu. During boss fights, the descriptive text explaining Kirby's ability will change into a brief description of the boss. At first, this is just a little bit of flavor that can be seen easily in the story. Oh no! King Dedede would never steal all the food in Dreamland! Perish the thought! Oh, the ancient texts read that the snake's weakness is its head? Cute! But as time goes on, these descriptions stop being purely flavorful and start being charged with backstory and an odd emptiness. Villains in the later half of Kirby games stop being goofy apple trees and Mr. Duder. They start showing their failings, their tragedies, some playing before the camera, but most tucked away. While you can see the madness of President Haltman play out in front of you, his regrets, his pain, his motivation for living, all of these are tucked away to be discovered, only there if you truly want it.
Everything that makes them who they are. You love to see a villain with a good backstory. I suppose it helps the player really connect with that villain, because when you understand them and you feel their pain, the emotional intensity of the final fight against them weighs more heavily than it would otherwise. Now granted, this doesn't have to be the case for every single villain. Obviously, there are very iconic villains who don't require much of a backstory or much of a kind of humanization of them. They can just be evil for evil's sake, and that's fine. Probably one of the most famous examples of this is Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like, we love to hate the guy, but, you know, he's great. And he's still, like, one of the most popular characters from the series. Arguably the most popular character. But obviously, for the purposes of adding greater depth to the lore of your series, this approach certainly works.
Those who oppose Kirby are tragic souls, perhaps entirely possessed by power, perhaps forces naturally driven to do harm, perhaps fulfilling their heart's mission that is turned dark and twisted. But they all add so much to Kirby's world and their stories that I can't do them justice just discussing them. Truly, they speak for themselves.
A sad shell possessed by the limitless power of the Master Crown, no more than a manifestation of the crown itself.
It has the look and voice of King Dedede, but not his soul. Some things can't be cloned. Some of the trial models were only interested in food, some were fearful of a certain insect, and all were imperfect.
All worlds, whether in another dimension or some far-flung galaxy, are bound by earth and sky. And where there is sky, there is Krakow. Made of fallen tears and the scattered mists of his enemies, Krakow roars with dark power.
His full name is Max Prophet Haltman. Ever since losing his only child, he's dedicated his life to his company. However, his only wish is to see his daughter once again.
Why did I reactivate such a terrible machine? Oh, I remember. I wanted to see her just one last time. How foolish! I should have known. No machine can make such a dream come true.
Tyran's final words, and
that was sad. He had been corrupted by his power and greed, so much so that he even forgot the very reason why he made the machine in the first place. Or the fact that, like, Susie, the secretary, was his daughter. He just didn't recognize her. That was so messed up, man.
An offering can no longer reach her ears. The former queen has become a pitiable husk in the throes of madness after losing everything. She has consumed the world, and all she has left to cling to is her vanity.
But there's one that stands out above all else. Kirby's had his fair share of demons.
Yeah. Yep.
A dark planet desiring nothing but assimilation, beings of pure nightmare reveling in torment, Onion Girl. But none compare, in both world building and scope, to perhaps the greatest and most terrifying being ever written into Kirby's mythos. For the entirety of Kirby's star allies, shards of the mysterious Jamba Heart are gathered, pulled out of friend and foe alike, intoxicated by their corrupting influence. Kirby must free his friends by battling through the mysterious Jambastion, a religious order dedicated to collecting their hearts for a dark ritual. Eventually, Kirby is able to defeat the Order's generals, the three Mage Sisters, and their High Priest, Lord Highness, in an attempt to stop whatever mean thing they happen to be doing. The Jamba Heart nearly complete, his body giving out,
himself.
Highness does the only thing
And
he
the
is
three
capable
sisters
of,
too.
sacrificing his own life and the lives of his generals in order to complete his cruel machinations. The essence of chaos, a godly being foretold by books of legend, revives, and the negativity and hatred gathered granted a form equal in destructive power to its violent emotions. Summoned forth is the true destroyer of worlds, a deity with the sole purpose to crush all opposition. Hatred, obsession, jealousy, greed, and chaos made manifest. It is the end of all. Rise, O Dark Lord of Despair. Crush the stars, lay waste to care. Rise and cover the land in sorrows. May your symphony of emptiness bring the end of all tomorrows. Rise, O Dark Lord of Despair. Crush the stars, lay waste to care. Upon your wing, dark judgment bring. May your symphony of tragedy cause the end of everything. Void.
And all this in a Kirby game. Oh man, dude. A children's game indeed. And honestly, Kirby probably isn't even breaking a sweat.
And the craziest thing about this boss is introducing a suicide doomsday cult with universally apocalyptic consequences to Kirby isn't enough for it. Not only can it freely create Master Crowns to use as a tool, an artifact that almost destroyed the universe on its own in Return to Dreamland, but within the hulking monstrosity, there is its purest essence. As Kirby fights the Eater of Worlds, plunges into the belly of the beast, knocks away the corpse of the corrupted Highness, fueling it with hatred, the core takes notice of the pink puff ball. And it reacts. He has begun to feel,
Kirby's
to
form.
desire, to think. Within the void, there lurks a soul. And when that soul becomes manifest, it takes the form of a friend.
But what could this imply?
Asks and answers so many questions. And the deeper the player goes, the more they fight, the harder they make it on themselves, the more the game answers. Facing the Dark Force in story mode, it begins laughing, almost playing as it fights, having strong overtones of Kirby's first melody, Green Greens, mixed into his boss theme. Slowly, it begins using attacks familiar to other bosses in the series, before morphing into a form any Kirby fan would know.
Now, I've said this before in the previous videos, but I love it when video games do this and pay so much attention to just like the animations and the moves that characters use being linked to other characters within the series. I say the same praise about Elden Ring, and I'll say it here. Just fantastic attention to detail.
Dark matter. Kirby's friend Gooey possessed a similar copy ability to the Star Warrior, and always had a connection to the dark matter species, but never before was such a possible link created directly to Kirby. If fought on the Soul Melter difficulty in The Ultimate Choice, the hardest challenge in Star Allies before DLC came in,
Kirby's face.
Void
Jesus.
Soul shall appear. Delving into the pause screen presents a further reward, detailing the existence of Void.
No telling if it's true, but according to the ancient scrolls, Void Termina may rise again in other forms depending on whether positive or negative energy is gathered. It seems this being of darkness will wander the galaxy until one day he is reborn into a new existence. When he returns, hopefully we'll be as a friend.
But nothing is quite as strong as the clash with the hardest foe possible. Added at the end of Star Ally's life cycle was Soul Melter EX,
Oh my
the
God.
greatest challenge possible.
This is very interesting, though. Just having extra bits of lore hidden behind higher difficulties. I suppose it's a means of giving your players motivation to really push themselves in battles. And I also don't think it takes away from the game, because as we stated before, like, it's not necessary to the plot itself, or like the message the game wants to send, but it is there for people who are willing to look for it. Once again, kind of in a similar fashion to Elden Ring's like design, or well, I guess the Dark Souls series in general, with how they want to tell lore through item descriptions. Like, it's there. If you want to read about it and try to connect the dots for yourself, you can, but it's not necessary.
There, replacing the soul, lies the astral birth itself, Void. Introduced with a splash screen of rapid colors mirroring the hyperzone that once contained Zero, the heart of
That's
all dark
awesome.
matter. Void plays with Kirby as
Jesus.
aggressively as possible. Written into its soundtrack is a tragic piano version of Green Greens, a soulful and sorrowful refrain of peace, clashing with the chaotic theme of Void Termina.
Whoa. Whoa. Whoa, hold up a second. Shit. I haven't played any of the Kirby games and I'm already tearing up. What the heck was that? But man, I love video game music. I love it when there are like leitmotifs in soundtracks and you can actually just straight up tell what the story is and what the characters are feeling just from listening to a soundtrack. Music is such a powerful tool to tell stories, and I honestly just wish I was much more well-versed when it comes to music so I could comment more about this. But there are some amazing video game OSTs out there. If you don't listen to them regularly, I highly recommend checking some out. Maybe starting for your favorite series or some of the more popular ones, because there's just something that hits so different with video game music. Might have to check out Kirby's OST.
Before eventually, even that crumbles. The sounds of a Game Boy are mixed in, and the cheerful tune that started Kirby's adventures is turned into a lonely cry.
Holy shit! Ah! Dude, what the fuck? I haven't even played these games. Oh my god. Oh, I can't imagine how hard this hits for those of you guys who played it ever since the beginning of the series. Like, the wave of nostalgia just from hearing those Game Boy sounds, though. It really hit me. With music that's just so beautifully tragic. And even then, I'm missing that added familiarity of the original soundtrack. I think if I was one of those, like, longtime fans and I got here, I'd be, like, a wreck, dude. I don't think I'd be able to finish the video. Fuck.
And it is undoubtable. Void is dark matter. Dark matter is Kirby. Void is Kirby. A Kirby born of hatred and suffering instead of friendship and joy. Kirby himself is a destructive god who forsook his violent appetite in favor of peace, happiness, and bonds with others. Void is the tragedy of a Kirby without friends, and only the power of that friendship can truly put him to rest. The final battle is at hand. Void takes his first steps toward a new age, In place of tyrannical rage, will he find nap time? Gentle breezes? Treats? He may even dream again. A dream of friends reunited. You may already know all this. It's not as if Kirby lore is a massive secret. The fact that Kumazaki
I mean, I guess fair. It's just never really been a part of the internet that I was a part of. I didn't see anything from this. And admittedly, this was likely due to the fact that I had spent several years just playing League of Legends. Thankfully, I'm clear of that. We're done with that era. I could maybe go back and play it casually with friends someday, but yeah, no. There's just so much more to video games. There's a whole wide world left to explore, and it's really exciting just getting out there. And that's why I love learning about video game lore in general. There are just so many cool ideas, man. And none of this would hit as much if it was in any other medium. It's because we interacted with it, we experienced it, and we were there for it. It's because of our involvement with it that it makes it special to us.
himself voices Void Termina is telling enough that they want this stuff to be known. There are excellent studies out there exploring Kirby's lore in a tonality befitting its depth. But does this lore really have a place? This is Kirby after all. He's got a winning formula and great character design. There shouldn't be a need to load him up with horrors from the great beyond. Tons of series have had dramatic twists or moments where they've taken themselves too seriously. And
Bomberman, what? I know nothing about that and Sonic, so I have no idea what's going on.
Most have strayed away from such attack in the future. Why should Kirby be different? And moreover, if you're gonna commit to this bit, why hide the deep details in the pause menu? Kirby isn't Dark Souls. Piecing together bits of the ruined world around you isn't baked into the natural curiosity of the world. You just gotta kill Wispy Woods for the 50th time. And yet, something about this undeniably works. Something endearing ties all of these disparate pieces together, allowing them to function. What should be bloated and obtuse is made not only functional, but fascinating because of one simple piece. Hi! Kirby doesn't really care about his own lore. He's Kirby. He can't read the pause screen anyway. The little guy...
Actually not wrong. Kirby does not care. He just wants to go back, have some nap time, and eat some snackos. What a simple guy. An absolute legend. We all aspire to be Kirby.
Just wants to go about his day, make friends, eat a whole bunch, make sure everyone he cares about is safe, and that everyone being mean to them will stop it. No matter how complex the world around him is or how deep the lore gets, Kirby remains simple. Dark matter, heart matter, dream matter, doesn't matter. What Kirby is physically doesn't define him compared to what he is intrinsically. A friend.
Yes.
Whether he's fighting Mr. Duder or a world-ending nightmare, Kirby tackles every single problem with the same confidence, desire to play around, and positivity that he always exudes.
To me, this is like the gold standard of storytelling. If the story is too simple, it may be too shallow, and thus people can't really grow more attached to it, because there isn't really much to explore. But when the story is too complex, and the ideas are just way too out there, then newcomers to the series may be daunted by it, and may not want to return. But a series like this, with a simple premise, and yet a complex lore and backstory to pretty much everything, means that literally everybody can enjoy it in their own way. Just massive props to everybody who worked on Kirby. Like, it sounds simple when you say it, but actually achieving that is a whole nother thing.
The player can delve deeper, find stories to tug on the heartstrings and fascinate the mind, or they can just follow Kirby's path and move forward without much of a care. No matter what they choose, Kirby will be there with them, with the same answer. Let's play together and win together. And if they do delve deeper, all of the tragedy and mythos surrounding Kirby only elevates how powerful his simple message is.
Yes.
Kirby can overcome all of that and still do everything in his power to help others, because he's just that good of a boy. That's the beauty of Kirby's lore to me. No matter how tough things get,
I agree.
No matter how scary our obstacles, no matter how complex the world around us might become, a simple and earnest approach can always see us through. The solutions to our problems.
I think it's important to always have these reminders, because oftentimes life can kind of get to you. You get blindsided by something and then you end up forgetting joy. This is why I'm almost certain that there's going to be some of you guys watching this video who have one of the Kirby games as like their comfort game. The one that they always go back to whenever they need a quick pick-me-up or they're just feeling super down, you know? For me, I'd say it's the anime Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. There's just something about it, man, that really helps motivate me and puts me back in the mindset to just go out there and get things done, even if things may look bleak. But when it comes to video games, I think it fills an even more special role because it's like reliving that experience, actually going on that journey with Kirby. You connect with it on such a much deeper level.
Problems may not be as simple as Kirby, but the place one comes from to solving them is one of care, confidence, and love. If Kirby can fight monsters of immeasurable power and evil just because he cares, so can you. That's the message of the Kirby series to me. And it's one that's only shown brighter the more the series is developed around him. Kirby is shaped like a friend. Kirby is your friend. Kirby will always be your friend. And like him, you can take on anything. That's the value of Kirby. That's the story behind his lore. That's friendship.
I'll be honest with you. The lines at the end here, some may say is corny. I would disagree. I think this video is amazing. I'm just sitting here tearing up throughout all of it. Man, that boss music got me good. And I haven't been able to recover ever since. Also, massive props to everybody who worked on this. This is great. This is a YouTube video. Especially the script writing. It's fantastic. But yeah, man, this is why I love video game essays. Just like video games themselves, it can tell such a personal story that everybody can relate to. Even me, somebody who hasn't even touched a Kirby game, could still feel the waves of nostalgia of things that I had never done before. I don't know what was going down, but maybe I'm just a crybaby. I don't know. Kirby lore is awesome. This channel is awesome. If you guys haven't already, please go and support them. That was fucking fantastic. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me, my dudes. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.